This conference will now be recorded.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. This is Reb Anderson. I'm with ACE, Alliance for Climate Education, and I am our facilitator today on the Clean Call. We are excited to have Sarah Pidgeon from Solar One giving a third in our series of case study, climate education case study presentations today. And before I pass it over to Sarah, though, I want to open it up for any announcements.
Hey, Jen, are you going to talk about the your 10th summit?
Yeah, give us a little
Oh, sure.
little highlight.
So, hi, everybody. This is Jen Kretzer from the Wild Center, and we just finished last week our 10th Adirondack Youth Climate Summit, and then actually on Friday we hit our 60th Youth Climate Summit worldwide because we had actually 3 summits happening last week, which was really exciting. So our program, and I've presented on this before, brought together last week about 260 high school and college students for 2 days to learn about climate science impacts and active solutions. And we had great representation from our friends at the Alliance for Climate Education. So there was actually quite a lot through both ACE and also this other group, Soulfire Farm. We did a lot of work on environmental justice and climate justice, which was exciting. There was a lot of workshops on energy efficiency and climate resilience. There were additional workshops on food and food systems, just a lot happening. But it was really well attended, and we were really pleased with the results.
Thanks, Jen.
That's awesome, Jen. Congratulations, 10 years.
10 years, just like that. Woohoo!
And no gray hairs whatsoever.
None that you can see, at least.
I will make another update or announcement about something that I have shared, I forget, about a few weeks ago on the call. But Katie Boyd, our Clean Fellow, one of our Clean Fellows, and I came up with a couple slides that you can use in any presentations, like at upcoming AGU or anything else that you might want to include a mention that you are part of the Clean Network in your presentation or your poster. So there's a slide. There's also a second slide that just has our little Clean logo in the corner, so you can stick that there. And we updated the logo so that it says Clean Member across it. Here, instead of just talking, I will. That in the chat is the link to the Drive folder where you can download all those, the Clean side and the Clean Member logo, and use them. And I think it's a great way for us to do a better job broadcasting to the world that we are a really active network that does a lot of great work, and that you are a proud member. So please use them in your presentations and make sure people who are not clean know about us, and make it easy for them to join us.
So while we're there, by the way, Reb and Katie, thank you for doing that. It's been needed for the community forever. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for plugging it again, Reb. I was just about to do that.
Beat you to it.
So one thing, so NOAA Climate Program Office and Ceres have been, leading the charge now on the next wave of the Clean collection and the Clean portal. And I just put in some updated numbers, but for the last, 17 months, we've been having record-breaking months. Every month, we've been collecting data since 2011. And whatever's happened since the spring of 17 through till now, we're really seeing very substantial uptake in interest and access and use, we expect, of the Clean collection and the Clean supporting pages. So it's just a healthy sign that the wider community is really starting to taking teaching climate change and solutions seriously. We always expected it to be happening, but it's nice to have data that's starting to show that it is actually happening. So very healthy signs. Very encouraging. No woo woo, nothing.
Well, I'm just like, it's amazing, Frank, and I'm wondering, like, where's this coming from? Are teachers just like psyched about trying to find our resources? Are we doing better outreach? Like, what is driving this?
Well,
It's not
both
like
of
we're
those things
ads
are
out
true.
there, right?
Both of what you just said is true, but I think the going all the way back to the beginning of establishing the climate literacy framework, and then that flowed into the NRC framework, that flowed into the next generation science standards, and but think about all the work that's going on in the country where teachers and educators, specifically just those, we know that it's not just K-12 teachers, but that when the standards in Washington State, Idaho, New Mexico call for the teaching of climate change and all the supporting concepts, like 30% of those standards relate to climate change. That alone is a system driver. And there's 3.6 million, over 3.6 million teachers of science in the nation, with 54 million students in the K-12 level. So I mean, just those numbers, all indications would be you would expect an increased uptake. And we also do a lot of promotion work to education system leaders that if you want to do this, that the Clean Collection is one of the go-to places, because we've done rigorous review and connecting and search tool enhancement. So, I mean, I think that line, whether it's the Council of State Science Supervisors or, people in state departments of education or districts, I mean, that's what we've been doing. So we would expect that increase to happen. And
Frank,
yeah. Go ahead, Jim. No, that's good.
Frank, Jim here. One is, of course, our history, Climate Change Education Org being kind of the first portal back in the early 2000s, and then we've kind of said, we as volunteers, we can't keep this up anymore. But one of the tools we would use, of course, is looking at, the analysis of in the website to see where was it coming from. Was it coming from Google? Was it coming from other websites and things? So that's kind of useful. Kind of ethically, we would never try to figure out individually who they were, right? We weren't into trying to get anything privacy, but you can get a lot of metadata, and that would be interesting to see. So how are people coming to clean? And that would be, to useful, right? What websites are driving people to them and things. I mean, applause for everybody on their work. This is fantastic.
So, Jim, we have a very sophisticated and thorough analysis of all of that. We can even see a workshop in a place that promoted clean in the portal and the collection. We can see when that spike happens in our numbers, and then we trace it back and go, who was in Michigan on this day?
Yeah.
And we can see it. So but we're continuing to do that analysis to try and inform better promotion of the work. So, but I'm just letting you guys know. And the other thing that makes me happy about this is that a lot of the work of the community is represented in the collection. So, I mean, we're kind of promoting the community in the process of collection.
All right. Well, thanks, Frank. Yeah, I'd love to dive in further on those metrics at some point.
Sure.
Yeah, get some more detail on where people are coming from. Any other announcements? And I think we just have to bring us on the phone, so we're hearing some of the background noise. So if you can mute yourself, that would be helpful. Awesome. All right, last call for any announcements.
This is Marta. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hi, Marta.
I'm driving. Sorry, I'm late.
That's you on the phone. Good to hear you.
At ATU, we have we're going to be having a dinner on the first Sunday night, and science arts dinner. If anybody wants to come, about climate change, and I can also send maybe Reb to you or to Patrick or whatever. We're compiling a bunch of different arts and science sessions that are happening during that time for anybody that's interested in attending. And particularly we have one on Thursday from 10:20 to 12:20, which hopefully will be interesting.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, you know, and you can even just send that to the full network.
Okay, we'll do that. Thanks.
Yeah. There's also a clean workshop, I think, happening at AGU.
There is.
13th.
It's on Thursday afternoon. And it's at the, I'm trying to pull up the exact place, but it's at Thursday afternoon in the Marquee, Marriott Marquee. All that details will be sent through the network very soon. The Georgetown room.
The Georgetown room. Frank, if you have an early draft, this is Marta. I'm sending out a bunch of stuff for people who are making travel plans, and I'd love to have it as soon as possible, as I'm sure you would love to have it done too.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah,
Friday or Monday is where we'll be driving the agenda, so it'll be coming out to the community very soon.
Great, thanks.
And Marta, you had sent an email about trying to make a list of all the AGU climate literacy sessions and things like that. And I'm sorry I didn't get to it last week. I had a conference at the end of the week, but I'm going to work on that this week. It's on my list. I just want to let you know. I will try to send that out as soon as possible too.
Is that Katie? Or who?
Yeah, this is Katie. Sorry.
Great,
yeah,
thanks.
Sorry. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, last call for announcements. All right. Well, I'm thrilled to introduce our speaker for today. Our speaker is Sarah Pidgeon from Solar One. Sarah joined Solar One in 2009, and she saw the growth of the K-12 Green Design Lab program from a small-scale pilot to its current reach of over 700 schools. Sarah is passionate about fighting climate change and inspiring New Yorkers to bring environmental sustainability into their schools and communities. Prior to joining Solar One, Sarah worked as an educator at the Center for Urban Environment in Brooklyn, where she taught classes in urban design and ecology, and she holds an MBA in management for mission-driven organizations from Marlborough College in Vermont. And Sarah is going to be giving a presentation today titled Comprehensive Workforce Development for Social and Environmental Justice. And I will chat in the page for our with her abstract on there if you can take a look. But I think, Sarah, you'll do a much better job explaining it than I will. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Join me in welcoming Sarah.
Thank you so much. I just want to start by thanking Frank for inviting me to present and to learn more about the Clean Network, which is very exciting. And I feel really excited to share a little bit of information about the organization I work for, Solar One. And what I'm planning to do is just talk a little bit about two of our workforce training programs. One is our Green Design Lab program, which is for K through 12, but specifically targeted at high school, or the bulk of what I'm talking about today is about our high school program, and then also our Green Jobs training program that we deliver out in Long Island City, Queens. So before I jump in, I am going to give just a really short history of Solar One, the organization. So Solar One is a nonprofit organization. It was founded in 2004 to care for a park. There it goes. So the park is called Stuyvesant Cove Park. It is a 2-acre native plant park that runs along the East River in Manhattan between 18th and 22nd Street. And it's a really unique space. It was originally going to be turned into luxury condos, but the community fought to have a park. And interestingly, for some reason, the Parks Department here in New York City was not able to take on the care of the park. And so Solar One was founded to be an educational organization that would care for this park and also have an education center for field trips for New York City students on the property. However, since that time in 2004, we have grown into a multifaceted renewable and energy efficiency education organization. So we deliver a large number of programs reaching thousands of New Yorkers every year. And before I talk about our workforce programs, I will tell you about our other largest program, which is called Here Comes Solar. And this program, the goal of it is that we help reduce barriers to accessing solar energy. And we do that by navigating the complicated process of assessing sites for solar and helping to use purchase power, collective purchasing power, to reduce prices. So since the beginning of the Here Comes Solar program, we have actually helped to facilitate the installation of over 2 megawatts of photovoltaics. And most importantly, those 2 megawatts have been installed in partnership with affordable housing providers. So the biggest goal of this program, like I said, is to reduce barriers to accessing solar and to help ensure that more New Yorkers have access to make sure that they can also save energy on their electricity bills. Now, not every building is a candidate for solar, but another thing that Solar One has been able to do has been to support the growth of community solar here in New York City. And for those of you who are not familiar with community solar, it works similarly to an ESCO, where you sign up and your electricity usage actually gets paid to this solar installation instead of to your general utility. You still do pay for grid charges and fees to the utility, so you have a delivery charge and your usage charge, but it's a really exciting way to make sure that even more people get access to solar when they are renters or their roof is not a good candidate. And on average, community solar participants will save roughly 10% of their annual electricity costs overall. So it helps save people money and helps make solar more accessible in an urban environment, which has been very exciting. So our 3 main programs, in addition to managing the park, are, like I said, Here Comes Solar, our K-12 program, Green Design Lab, and our workforce training program for adults. So Solar One offers green workforce training in our state-of-the-art lab, which is in Long Island City, Queens, where we partner mostly with existing workforce agencies, as well as building owners and property managers, to help get folks trained in a really large range of what we would call clean jobs. There was a recent report that came out from Clean Jobs America that there are now over 3.2 million clean jobs. And just in the renewable and energy efficiency sector alone, we're seeing such a dramatic growth, and we at Solar One want to make sure that those jobs are accessible to the folks that need them most. So we do that by focusing on providing hands-on technical training. So we offer courses for building staff, property managers, and folks who are underemployed or unemployed. And a lot of the training we do is specific to an industry. So for example, we run solar panel installation courses that culminate in an exam where students have the ability to get an industry recognized certification. And these certifications can mean quite a bit when you're applying for a job and you haven't had that on the ground experience and you're hoping to have that door opened. Having that certification on your resume can really make a big difference. But in addition to doing things like solar PV installation and the NABCEP, which is the associated certification for that training, we also infuse environmental sustainability and awareness about climate change into general training programs. We really like to focus on what we call building transferable skills. There are so many jobs in construction these days, and the folks working in construction need to be taught about ways to be more energy efficient and ways to be more environmentally sustainable. So again, we provide industry recognized certification training, and we also try and make sure that our training is accessible and helpful for participants that we work with to get a really large variety of jobs. The biggest reason that I believe that our workforce training program is a success is because we really work to leverage partnerships. We don't try and do everything. So we are a hard skills expert, and we deliver programs by partnering with existing workforce agencies. So we don't typically offer training programs like you might find at a college where anyone can just sign up. Instead, we partner with organizations like the Fortune Society or Strive International, who are major workforce agencies, often where people go when they're unemployed or when they are formerly incarcerated. So these partnerships mean that we can focus on doing the technical training and also focus on finding more contacts for job placement, while our partners can deliver services like counseling, mentoring, general career and job readiness training, and other things that might help them get access to jobs. Two programs that I want to highlight from our workforce training are, the first one is called the Icann Program. So again, one of our biggest partners is the Fortune Society, and since 2016, we have been running a program on Rikers Island at the prison complex, where we actually deliver hands-on training in solar, carpentry, electrical, and energy efficiency for folks that are going to be likely to be released in a short amount of time. The idea is that students participate in the school on Rikers Island in 2 to 4 week long training sessions, and then they're given the opportunity, once they are released, to come back to Fortune and enroll in the full-length training program and get that certification. So it's almost a way of providing that introductory technical training. It's been a successful 2-year pilot, and we just received notice that we're going to be continuing to deliver that hard skills training starting in 2019 again. And we're excited because we have now placed several folks that have gone through that training at Rikers, then followed up and come to our workforce lab in Long Island City, done the full training, and are now employed at local solar installation companies here in New York City. We actually recently had one of the former students send us a selfie up on a roof doing a solar installation. So those are the kinds of success stories that we're looking for with this program, where we really want to make sure that, you know, these 3.2 million clean jobs are accessible to folks that really need them the most. Another program we're doing that's sort of helping New York City to reach its climate action plan is in partnership with NYSERDA, which is the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. It's like the longest acronym of all time. And for that program, we actually work with property managers and building owners and help train folks on really large scale changes they can make around energy efficiency in buildings. Here in New York City, buildings are still the most significant source of greenhouse gas emissions, and a lot of that has to do with poor weatherization and inefficient heating and cooling. So just by working with folks, we do building walkthroughs where we look at boilers and identify areas for improvement. We're trying to help some of the biggest buildings and the biggest sources of greenhouse gas emissions change. So a big part of that program that's exciting is that it uses a train the trainer model where we work with the whole building staff, top to bottom, to make sure that a plan is in place, not only once for us to train folks that are working on the ground now, but for enough people that are working on the building management team to be trained that they can then retrain new staff as they come on board in the company. So it's been a pretty successful program. We're looking forward to growing it, but I think it addresses another need, which is that in order to really make a difference on energy efficiency in New York and really reach the 1.5 degree plan, we have to not only train entry-level workers, but we need to be focusing on how we can work with incumbent building staff to get them trained as well. So this is just some data from our 2017 program report. We're actually about to have this same data for 2018 on job placements, which look even higher this year. But as you can see, 81% out of all of our job placements in 2017 were quote unquote green jobs, whether they were in energy efficiency or green building operation and maintenance or solar installation. We're really focusing on supporting our workforce partners and getting more folks placed in solar and in clean energy jobs. Okay, so that's a little bit about our adult green workforce training program. And now I'll talk a little bit about how we've brought some of that work into our K-12 program. So one thing that we have tried to do here at Solar One is to make sure that we can support the city's climate goals. New York City has a plan called One NYC, which is the mayor's plan for building a sustainable and just city. And we try to make sure that we are not only complementing the work going on in the city, but that we are leveraging our partnerships with city agencies like the New York City Department of Education and the Department of Citywide Administrative Services to make sure that our K-12 programs are really reinforcing what's going on in the city around climate change. Oftentimes, a lot of this work, investing in energy efficiency, installing solar on schools, for example, is happening behind closed doors. It's not always visible to the public. So, for example, we run a program called the New York City Solar Schools Program in partnership with the Department of Education's Office of Sustainability and DCAS, and they are installing solar on a really large number of school buildings and on other government buildings. And I walked into a solar school and met with some teachers there, and they had no idea that their own school had solar on the roof. So there's a need to make sure that the public is aware of what's going, all the exciting work that New York is doing to become a more sustainable, environmentally sustainable city. And we do that through our K-12 program as well as our other programs that I talked about earlier. So Solar One's K-12 program is called the Green Design Lab, and we partner with schools in four main ways. We deliver career and technical education programs with an office at the Department of Ed called the Office of post-secondary readiness. We have curriculum resources that cover different units. So they focus on energy, air quality, water, food, and materials. We deliver classroom residency programs where educators from our team actually go in and co-teach alongside with classroom teachers. And we deliver formal professional development training. So the New York City Solar Schools program that I mentioned before, one major component of that is that we actually train science teachers on ways that they can incorporate solar and climate change into their curriculum. And that program now is going into its 4th year, and we have trained over 500 teachers in that program alone. But another big part of that program, which is what I want to talk about today, was started actually last year. And it is specifically for career and technical education students. It's called the Solar CTE Training Program. So Solar One, we have been partnering with career and technical education schools in New York City for quite some time, but last year was the first year that we launched this program through the Solar Education Program. And last year we worked with 4 partner high schools. And what we did was we collaborated with teachers and developed a 2-week standalone, or roughly 2-week standalone solar installation training course that can be incorporated into either an electrical program or a construction program. And the idea is that we bring in hands-on supplies for students to do a mock solar installation inside of their classroom. And we also provide content training for the teachers and classroom co-teaching, where we talk about some of the lessons cover climate change, why solar is important, how solar is growing as a career, and then we go right into the hands-on component of how to install panels, how to assess a site for solar, how to size a system to make sure you're going to meet your needs, so on and so forth. So this program was really successful in the first year. We, like I said, worked with 4 schools. We typically tend to work with juniors and seniors because it is helpful if the students have some basic electrical knowledge going into the program before they start learning about solar installation. And we're excited because this year we are going to be expanding the program for a total of 7 schools going in year 2. Another cool thing about this is that the materials themselves are non-consumable. So the idea is that we're going to work really closely with each school in the first year of the program. In the second year of the program, we'll spend a little bit of time working with each school. And by the 3rd year, the idea is that the teachers will be able to run with this and just have a 2-week solar unit as part of their curriculum permanently. Another exciting piece of it is that we're able to bring, because of our connections through the Here Comes Solar program, we've been able to leverage our existing relationships with solar installers to bring them in as guest speakers to talk about career growth in the solar industry. And also to, this year, we're looking at providing some of the students from each school with opportunities for paid full-time summer internships at local solar installation companies. Finally, we are also looking at expanding certification opportunities to high school students as well as adults. So the NABCEP training, that's the North American Board of Certified Energy Professionals, that's the solar installation cert that I mentioned earlier. That one is only available for students that are 18 and older, but we are looking at taking some of the seniors that participate in the program this year and actually getting them certified in solar as well, and seeing if we can help them even potentially get placed in a job when they graduate high school at the end of this spring. Another program that we have connected to green workforce training and career readiness has been a really great example of partnerships, and it is called the Career Clue program. So this program also was launched in 2016 and has a really large number of partners. So this program involves community-based organizations like Solar One. It also, we work with the mayor's office, and specifically within the mayor's office, the Center for Youth Employment. We work with the Department of Youth and Community Development, or DYCD, which manages New York City's Summer Youth Employment Program. And we work with the Department of Education Office of Community Schools. So it is a huge number of partners, but as we know, as challenging as large partnerships can be, they are often worth the challenge because they are usually the most successful. So this program is very unique. It is offered to 14 and 15-year-old students who are interested in enrolling and signing up for the Summer Youth Employment Program, but are often a little bit too young to be placed in traditional job sites. During the program, the students get 1 elective environmental science credit. They get full-time summer wages through the Summer Youth Employment Program, and we co-teach it alongside a science teacher from their school, which is how they're able to award the credit. And each week we do really 4 things. So we have 2 days of classroom instruction where the students do hands-on activities that help them to learn about climate change, learn about different careers in environmental sustainability, and also get to work with their hands. Every week we go on 1 career-related field trip. So for example, we went on a field trip to Sims, which is the municipal recycling center here in New York City. We went on a field trip to the Brooklyn Grange, which is an incredible rooftop farm, and we talked to the farmers there about jobs in urban agriculture, and students got to taste food grown on a rooftop in New York City. The students in the program also, over the course of the 6 weeks in the summer, are charged with developing a community-focused service learning project. And it needs to tie to the theme of environmental sustainability, and it needs to address a need in the local community. So it really encourages students to get to know their school and their school community in a deeper way. So some examples of projects have been volunteering in local community gardens. This year we had one group build cold frames. We did a small solar installation in a community garden to power a rainwater barrel to actually pump and irrigate the plants. We've done murals, trash cleanup days in local parks, and so on. Finally, we do a big focus on career exploration. So in partnership with Summer Youth Employment Program, we deliver basic training in things like interviewing skills, resume writing, and also researching different green career pathways. We also invite guest speakers to come in from local utilities and solar installation companies and even real estate developers to talk about green careers and their career pathway. The whole 6-week program actually culminates with big final presentations where the students actually take all the work that they've done through the summer and they tie it to the city's One NYC plan. And we invite folks from the Department of Education, we invite parents, and we invite folks from the mayor's office to come and watch the students present on the work that they did and how their work, specifically their service learning projects, ties in with the city's goals and the climate action plan here in New York. So it's a really comprehensive program that not only introduces students to different career pathways, it helps them get a credit and get summer wages. And I think it's a lot more fun than some of the other summer employment programs. It's definitely a unique opportunity. So the program has had a big impact. We have reached now, I think it's over 6,000 students. We trained it's now over 375 teachers. That's actually I updated that a few months ago, but this is just from this 2017-18 year. One exciting metric that we've been tracking in our teacher surveys is the percentage of teachers that plan to incorporate solar and climate lessons after participating in training, which has now gone up to a little bit over 95%. Now, all we need to do is find a way to actually track down who's really implementing those lessons, but we hope that it's a high number. So we've learned quite a bit over the years, and I think, one thing that I hope to do is spend more time talking with folks from other cities and maybe even getting more involved in the Clean Network just to help share what we've learned with the larger community to see if we can help folks in other cities and states, replicate some of what has been successful here in New York. So we do have plans for growing outside of the city. We are going to start with continuing to build on our partnership we have with the New York Power Authority and their environmental justice program specifically to provide training for teachers across New York State. We're looking at expanding the solar CTE program here in New York City, like I mentioned, and we're also starting to look at plans for how we can start up a similar program model in Newark, New Jersey, and in other areas of the Northeast as well. But like I said, what I really also hope to do is help other folks around the country replicate some of what we've been able to do, especially when it comes to building partnerships. Another plan for the future is that we are waiting for the construction to begin for an environmental education center that we're going to have along the East River. So New York is beginning the process of a very large initiative called the Big U, which will be a major resiliency project to help reinforce the lower Manhattan for storm surge and flooding. And as part of the Big U project, Solar One is anticipating our new green environmental education center, which will hopefully be a net zero building that will have off-grid solar with battery backup. When Hurricane Sandy hit New York City, Solar One were about 3 feet from the edge of the East River in a 500 square foot building, very small. And we still had electricity when no one else in lower New York had electricity because we had a battery bank for our solar stored up in a loft. So even though we had over 5 feet of water in the building, we actually still had power. And we saw that as a symbol of how solar energy can be helpful not only in mitigating climate change, but helping build more resilient communities. So we hope that this will serve not only as a great education center for folks to see solar in real life and learn more about climate change, but also as a community center in times of need. Some key learnings and takeaways before I wrap up. Green job training can take many forms. So folks often think of green and clean jobs just as wind technicians or solar installers, but really the way that we are going to create all of these green jobs is by infusing environmental sustainability and energy efficiency into typical construction careers and other buildings careers. Another key takeaway is that city agencies can support climate goals with workforce development. So this is something we're really hoping to build out in the future, but with so many cities investing in making government buildings more energy efficient or installing more renewable energy, we have a really great opportunity here to make sure that folks who need these jobs the most are the ones that get access to them. And I think that community-based organizations, environmental justice organizations, and non-formal education organizations have a real opportunity here to play a role in helping support that process. Workforce development starts in middle and high school, as I'm sure everyone on this call is aware. It's important that we introduce students to green jobs and the principles behind them in advance so that students can start to think about careers and really have more awareness about different pathways. I had a student at the end of this summer say, you know, Miss, before I did this program, I really just thought I wanted to be a YouTube celebrity when I grew up, and now I think I might want to be a solar installer. So it's not that you know, that we expect middle and high school students to be making these decisions right now. It's more about making sure that they're aware of all these different pathways. And finally, it's also important to remember that we can provide these pathways to students that might not be inclined to go to college and that might be in career and technical education programs and ready to join the workforce right when they get out of school. And like I said earlier, partnerships is really the only way that Solar One has been able to do this work. Our entire organization is roughly 30 full-time employees, and we've reached thousands of New Yorkers. And the reason we've been able to do that is because we partner with government agencies around the city and the state, and we partner with environmental justice organizations and schools and teachers and community leaders. And none of this work could have been done without partnerships. Every single one of our programs depends on a collaborative effort. And I think that's what will make workforce training with social and environmental justice in mind the most successful moving forward. And that's it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing about Solar One's programs. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. And thank you again for inviting me to talk a little bit about Solar One.
Thank you, Sarah. That was amazing. I think I knew some about your program, but I did not know nearly that much. And it was so cool to hear like all the different aspects of the work that you do. And I have questions, but I want to give other folks, we've got 10 minutes left on the call, so I'd love to open it up for other folks to ask some questions.
Sarah?
Hello.
Hi, Jim Callahan here. Comparing, learning from everything with your incredibly important and wonderful program, and New York is such a strategic city from so many perspectives. I'm not only a believer in fighting climate change and education, but social justice and seeing that women and people of color have access to good jobs. All those things are important to me, and I don't see them fighting one another. In California, we have a thing, so I'm just want to just kind of compare notes with New York. I'm looking at websites and partnerships and things. I know it's tougher in New York, this question. There are different tracks within the electrical industry in particular, right, with solar. And it's a matter of trying to see if traditionally, if you can get into the union track, you're going to get benefits, you're going to get to retirement, you're going to have something that probably after you're 35 and 40 and your knees are worn out being on a roof, that there's all these other jobs. That would be ideal to have access to people of color and women equally to white men. That doesn't always happen, and it often has troubles in New York in particular. Is there anything toward that? Because we're trying to work on that a lot in California to see both all this come together, but people have the career path into union work and so on. Is that just like impossible in New York, or how's that going?
That is such a great question, and it's actually something that we are also working on that has been really challenging. A lot of times, so there are programs, a lot of the unions here in New York City do have training programs They have apprenticeship programs that are pretty strong. They also have a big training around solar and energy efficiency and all of these things. But that has actually been one of our big areas to work on, is thinking about how we can partner more with the unions, but also sometimes it can be challenging because those union apprenticeships, for example, some of them mean, really low wages for a year. And oftentimes a lot of the clients that we're working with, a lot of the folks that, we're training need living wages right away. And so a lot of the union apprenticeship programs are really great for young folks just starting out, but not always the most applicable. So we do some training in partnership with the unions, but most of our training and most of our job placement partners focus on non-union work, which is frustrating because I'm in support of unions fully, but sometimes the unions themselves are really challenging to get into. So I think there has to be, this space for the non-union and the union work, especially when we're talking about jobs in energy efficiency and in solar. It's also really important to us to place folks in jobs where they're going to get living wages. So we have a really exciting Here Comes Solar team at Solar One. We've been trying to leverage that because and incorporate into some of our projects either hiring requirements from the installers that we partner with, or at the very least requirements for interviewing. And that way we have candidates that come through our job training program that are already enrolled in other program services with our environmental justice partners, and then we can get them access to these solar jobs. We're doing this big new program right now with NYCHA, which is the New York City Housing Authority, that if anyone is interested, I can find and share. I'll share an article about it that does a better job of explaining it than me. It's not really my program, but for that, we are installing solar on a large number of NYCHA housing, and we are also making sure, and there's a big piece of it that includes living wage job placement for folks that are coming through a job training program that really need access to those careers. So but that is, again, what I wanted to mention is it is a non-union project. But it's very tricky. One of our biggest partners is the Department of Citywide Administrative Services, who essentially pays for all the energy bills of New York City buildings. And they have said before that most of the work that they have to do is going to be union work. So unfortunately, a lot of our trainees that we work with can't have access to those jobs. But yes, we are also struggling with this. And it's a big challenge.
Hey, Sarah, this is Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, couple quick questions. I know we're short on time here, but I want to pick up on the point you made about interest in kind of sharing this work more broadly. For a couple of years now, I've been trying to figure out the workforce strategy related to our work, and that's partly why we did the case study together, and coming back to the work, but the networks of cities and counties and communities that are leading on climate actions, like the Urban Sustainability Directors Network, the Global Covenant for Climate and Energy. They keep on changing the name on me, so I can't remember it. But is that something that you guys are ready to kind of bundle what works that in New York and share with other like people that you're working with at the city in other cities? Specific to, like, say, New Orleans. We had a meeting last year, and then she walked away from like all these strategies about climate education and engagement. she said, the one thing, if you can help me with workforce, I'm all in. They city leaders who are leading climate actions totally see this connection first before any other kind of engagement. So, I mean, I think there's a lot to share, but is that's something that Solar One is ready to do?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe not ready like tomorrow, but definitely something to start working on. Especially, what I'd like to do is speak more with my co-program director, Noah, who manages our Here Comes Solar program. I think that he has a lot of high-level insight into what's going on with the large-scale implementation of solar installs happening around the city, and he has done a really excellent job of incorporating these hiring requirements into his programming. And I think it would be, maybe something you and I can talk about with him on a call as a follow-up to this, to think about how we might be able to share some of our success stories here in New York and what has worked with making sure that those clean job opportunities are given to the folks who need them most.
Great. I think that's a natural next thing that we need to do in our community. So I appreciate your openness to it.
Of course, yeah, we're excited about that.
Perfect.
And Sarah, this is Marta in Boulder with EcoWatts Connections. And I wanted to ask, sort of similar to what Frank is asking too, whether you have any kind of like curriculum materials or anything online or anywhere. Actually, I mean, would love to share it with folks in Boulder. It's just such a, you could start a franchise or something. But seriously, I mean, the models, and also whether you've presented at BEC, the Behavior, Energy, and Climate Change conference, because if not, they would probably be really interested in your work as well. And then, the 100 cities, the Rockefeller 100 Cities project, which I don't know if that's still going, but yeah, I'm just tagging on to what Frank said, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in that. We're still formalizing that solar curriculum, the technical solar curriculum for high school students. And actually that's something I'm hoping to be able to disseminate once it's done, because we're only in the second year of the pilot. But once it's complete, that's something I'm hoping to share. Another thing that we're going to be doing this year is that we cannot afford an external evaluator, unfortunately, but we are applying for IRB approval to do a more robust internal evaluation of that solar career and technical education program. And we'll hope to be able to disseminate and share those results as well as the curriculum once it's done. Sorry, I should clarify.
Sarah, thank you so much. This has been really great.
Thank you. I hope it was helpful.
Absolutely. So I want to wrap it up here. Sarah, maybe you could put your email in the chat if people want to follow up with you and have other questions. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I think the audio recording will be posted up on the CleanNet website shortly. So thanks, everyone, for attending. And
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. That was great.
Thank
you,
Sarah.
Thanks.